Now I want to talk about what's going on currently in the game. Now that it's been out and people are discovering like little gameplay design mechanics and metas. And like one of my personal favorites is I play a lot of Ghosts, and it's impossible for me to get mad when a team is well coordinated because it's so impressive. It's so impressive getting chased by three busters, and one of the busters cuts you off. It
Yeah.
goes around, and you're right in front of him, and then you're stunned, and you get trapped. And it's so impressive. Can you talk about some of the stuff you've seen players do that you didn't expect to see or were surprised to see now that the game's out in players' hands?
Man, I've come across some insanely good busters that have like min-maxed the crap out of themselves. They were like almost toying with me, just to just to show how badass they were. It was just kind of crazy, but like I think that the level of Ghostbuster that's out there has been insane. The level of ghosts that we've come across, and the cool part about video games is like you think you're good at it. You treat like I've been working on this for 2, 3, 5, 10 years. I'm the best at this game, and then you go online and there are just people, dunking on you and doing the craziest things, and it's like, shit, I need to balance that. Shit, I need to balance that. And so like it's been pretty rad. Like Jordan and I have clipped a bunch of stuff off of streams. We've been watching a lot of things. We've been really kind of keeping an eye out on like the league and the high level players. We played with some streamers a few weeks ago, and honestly, I'm beyond happy that I brought Jordan on, because then they would have just beaten the crap out of me for the entire 2 hours. So luckily they were beaten up on both of us. But like, it is really cool to see people get so good, and this high level of Ghostbusters game. But like, I personally love playing the Ghost just because it's like I get to be a jerk and super mischievous, and then I play online. It's like, man, I need to like really start practicing. I need to start getting like higher level tactics. And I've seen people just do such crazy things that I'm like, fuck, man. Like I got into a match. This Ghost ran around detonating all of the rifts. I'm like, well, they're screwed. Like there's no way they have no extra life. So like all we have to do is trap them once. And the guy haunted the building so fast because he was doing all that, and it was just like, we always theorize like, well, someone could do this, and then it would be this like almost like really quick scary sudden death, and if they are not good, they get trapped and game's over. But this guy was so good. He was haunting everything. He was just doing all of these weird kind of like movements that was like keeping his ecto super high and just haunting as he was going. So our PKA meters were just giving us all these false positives. Then he was like haunting everything in the room except for one object. So you're like, okay, well, it can't be that. And we walk by it, and then you see in the corner of your eye him like bouncing up. It was like, what the crap? And it was, I mean, it's just like, it's so cool to see people playing these different tactics. Like we made this toolbox, and it was a lot of team effort where it's like, Jordan and design and engineers and artists just throwing out crazy ideas. And if we can or can't do that, there's a lot of really cool things that are coming still just in the mechanics of the game that we're going to add and give to the Ghost and the Ghostbusters. And so it is just one of those things where this is the base level of the mechanics that you're going to have, and then you're going to keep on getting more, which I think that it'll keep the game, keep people coming back, because really the game is like a fun game to play with your friends. Yes, you should play it, you should absorb it, but the goal for us is to bring you back and evolve it and continue to do that. And
Game as
really
a service, yeah,
it.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, games as a service is, they always make you pay. We're actually, all of our DLC is going to be free. We're not going to do any paid DLC with this game.
I would pay if you did, just FYI. Like, you take a note.
Believe me,
everyone
everyone has absolutely said that, and I get it. And like, Predator F-13 really, we were able to do great stuff with that. But really, this game is supposed to be, we purposely made it family friendly. We purposely made it for people to play with their kids and kids to play. And it is funny because it's a bunch of adults playing and going ham on everyone. But the thing is like, I feel right now in all of the way that everything's going, just with the industry of like all of the extra additions, like for us, it's like, let's just get people to play the game and get in and play and come back and not nickel and dime it, because honestly, like it's great to add money to the bucket, but I think that with this, it's like what we're doing is sustainable for us.
And then we talked about level design early on. I want to touch on that again. Your level designers are incredible. Like these places have such a world. They feel like they could be real places, but they also have that really interesting loop of how they go around and where everything's placed. Like none of that's by accident. Like that's all design. And I'm so impressed when I'm navigating these environments, just how real they feel. And even as the ghost, if I take a wrong turn, I'm in a dead end, I'm like, uh-oh, that's intentional. And it's so impressive. Can you talk about that process of making these real world places look interesting and play diversively from one another?
A lot of play testing, but also like our lead level designer, it's one of those things where there's a natural talent of being able to look at real world areas and absorb it and turn it into a map. But he's an amazing level designer. Like he's tutored a lot of our level designers, but he has taken a lot of the brunt of just building these white boxes, play testing them, and he's able to see that. And then when we get into those play tests, like, hey, we should do this or we should add something there. But it's like, he just kicks ass when it comes to like just building that white box of like what it's going to be, and he has this great stuff. And then the art team comes in and even the writers come in and give it backstory, so then the artists are able to kind of build stuff around it. And with the original 5, we also had like little tips of the hats to like what are haunted places. So it was like we even just said like, okay, these are the maps in just what they were going to be. And right. then Hunter, our lead level designer, came in and just blocked it out, and then our other level designers came in and blocked it out, and so they had to like, it wasn't just them going like, oh, this is this shape and whatever. It's like they were following haunted places with some backstory, and so the things that they've done have been really amazing to me.
Yeah, I've been trying to hold this off for a while because I'm going to nerd out for a second. But like when I saw that the alternate jumpsuits had the real Ghostbuster colors, I was like taken aback. When I went, because I've seen some of the ghosts in like your pre-pressure materials, but not a lot of them. When I went through all the ghost subtypes and the variants, I was like, I can't believe, like, because that's the real Ghostbusters was a cartoon. It came and went, and no one's really talked about it for 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
And then here's a game that someone on your art team and your design team were clearly inspired by. Like, can you elaborate on that at all? Like it was so incredible to see that 20 years later out of nowhere for me. Yeah. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just be honest. Anyone that's making a game right now is at least in their 20s. So mostly in their 30s. So if you just go back X years, real Ghostbusters. And so it was one of those things where, of course, as we're making colorways, it's like, dude, we need to make real Ghostbusters. We need to put the RGB stuff in. And so, that was one of those exciting things, like, oh, we hope that people get excited about that. And people definitely got excited about it. And then with the ghosts, it was really, so I've got an amazing concept artist. We've worked with him since Predator. He's worked on Arcade-Ageddon. He's made all of the Predator variants. Like, he's done such really crazy stuff, and it's just like, I don't know, this with this, and he just bangs something out. So when we're like, okay, we're making Ghostbusters, we need ghosts, and we stayed away from humans. Like, that was a purpose thing. Like, we wanted them to be ghosts that were akin to a Slimer, so it wasn't
demony, like more
demony. Yeah. We didn't want to have your dead Aunt Pearl floating around going, oh, I'm spooky, and now I need to turn into a demon. But like, we wanted to just keep it so it's like, what you're hunting, you're not coming around the corner and there's just this person there, and then they turn into a monster. We wanted them to just be a monster the entire time, and that was very much like some of the Ghostbusters ghosts, but all of the real Ghostbusters ghosts. And so we definitely looked at a lot of those things. We definitely, used all the canon. And that was the great part, is when we started working on it, it's like, hey, what's a non-starter? And like, everything, you could do whatever you want with it. You just need to be, diligent on making sure that it makes sense in this mainline canon world of what it is and all of that fun stuff. So the ghosts, like, man, we get a lot of crazy concepts from Ivan, our concept artist, and there's a lot that we're still sitting on. There's a lot of really cool stuff, and then we're doing more ghosts. Like that's the exciting part, is more ghosts, more maps, throughout this next year, and just more. And so like we are fans. Like, as you can see, I've got a few Ghostbusters
Right.
things here, and it's not just because like I could write it off. Like, I've been a Ghostbusters fan forever, and so being able to do this is it's more scary of me going like, just keep on doing it, keep on spending money. Who cares? Like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like there has to be that sanity balance. But what we're doing and what we're adding to the game, and we're adding to the canon of hopefully the world, and I think that like Ghostbusters, just as an IP, even if it's not in the main film canon, it's still the fans still rock that stuff. Like seeing Ghostbusters in the extreme Ghostbusters gear, or the deep cut, super crazy 90s neon gear, with just like where toy companies are like, I don't know, make them have googly eyes, just keep on going. That's been really rad. So we're definitely looking at all of those pieces and seeing what we can make sense in the game.
Yeah, I mean, because like you said, it would have been really easy, not easy, but really just we'll just do like, what inspired by the movies and movie inspired stuff. And your art design of the game, overall, your art direction caters itself so well to either, which
Yeah.
is, I think it's a really impressive. People have been calling it Fortnite, but I don't think it looks very Fortnite. I think it looks stylized, but it's definitely.
I feel like you could put out any game that's not hyper photorealistic and people will say Fortnite. I mean, it's just that's just how you put a game out that has an M4, it's all of a sudden Call of Duty. So it is just, it's an easy thing for someone to just connect A to B, even though there's a complete other alphabet, and it's fine. But like, what the reason why we did that was, when we started working on this game, we were looking at the 16 game, we were looking at all the other games, and the big cool factor is people that love a game or love a franchise will go back to those games. And I've always been one of those guys that occasionally goes back and plays like Metal Gear Solid. And the thing is if because it was built in a certain era where stylization was purposeful because it was a video game, it doesn't make my eyes scream when I look at it. And so when we decided to make Ghostbusters, we just got done with Predator. We were going for that realistic look. We were going for that, but like a year later, it's like, man, it's kind of looking dated just because it's on PlayStation 4 to 5. And so the reason why we decided to make it stylized was we wanted to give it longer legs and longer life. Because if you make a game purposely stylized, I feel you could come to it 5 or 6, 10 years later, and it doesn't look muddy. It doesn't look, bad. And so that was really our big decision for that stylization, was we wanted people to come back, many, many years from now and go, oh man, I remember playing this. And, as the AI evolve, as the bots evolve, I hope that they, if there's no one playing online, the goal is they'll be able to play it and enjoy it and still have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the art style. I think it caters itself very well to your game, and like you said, it works. Like, say you want to make a real Ghostbusters pack, you can fit in that world now. Extreme Ghostbusters pack could even fit in that world now. Or if you were just doing the movie licensing, it may be hard to sell that. It may be a little wonky and blocky for a movie stuff. But let's I want to talk about like the tethering mechanics for a bit in the current game, because any game where you can get stunned or aren't unable to move or are getting like controlled by an outside source other than yourself can be frustrating. And I felt like you really nailed what the tethering would feel like, where I'm getting my power taken away, but not for too long. And same thing with the trap. And I didn't have a problem with the stun, because if they're well coordinated, more power to you, and I could still move as the stun. Talk about how that process evolved in your game, continues to evolve, because I know that's no easy task to take power away from the player.
Testing. I mean, that like the tether mechanic was the particle thrower was the number one. Like that was our the first thing that we started on was, I want to see the beam. I want to see what it's doing, how it's grabbing things, how it's moving around. And then as soon as we got the ghost player, it's like, okay, this is the core of the game, so we have to have that perfect. It'd be like if we were making a shooter game, it would be like firing a gun, reloading, all that stuff would have to be the number one thing. And so with this, we did that, and then we started just tuning and balancing, making sure that this curvatures are there, making sure that it wasn't super frustrating, making sure that there wasn't enough crazy min maxes that you could just stay there forever. And then just kind of figuring out the micro mechanic of like, okay, I'm tethered, how do I get out of it? And it isn't frustrating, because we did a bunch of, like, we've tried so many different QTEs where it's like, oh, this is just all I have to do is just do this. All I have to do is just do this. This isn't fun. And so there's a lot of these little, big playtest decisions. Like I said, it's like we play all the time. We, the level designers and the designers and the engineers and the artists play, 3-4 times a week at the minimum. And then when we're putting the game out, not only do we have a really good QA team, but we have all these other people that are just coming in and playing. And the great part is myself and Chuck, the CEO, we're constantly playing it, and it's great because you're bringing different types of players in. You're bringing in different types of skill levels, because there are people that are playing it every day and they know all the tricks and trades, and then someone like me that's like, oh, I just got back from a 2-month road trip for selling the game. What's all this stuff? Like, this is crazy, or like this is just like a huge, like, no, like let's pull this out. And so there's a lot of those great parts where we're constantly playing it, we constantly care about it. And I think that's just how it's come out the way it has, is because we really do care about what we're putting out. It's not just like that standard game where it's like, just get it out, we got to get it out. We really tried as much as we could to make the best experience that you possibly could. And that's the funny part, is like a lot of the things that are coming out or on the roadmap, those are planned in the main game, but it's like, man, if we do this, there's going to be less polish with these other elements. So let's just keep on pushing it out throughout.
I think we saw some data miners or some stuff that I won't talk about it here, but we saw some stuff. We're like, oh my God, why is that in the game? I want to get that. And you're like, okay, well, maybe in the future roadmap.
Well, you know what? If we didn't learn from data mining on the last few games, you guys would be seeing a lot of things going like, what? So we've been learning how to deal with the data mining. But it's I honestly, I love the fact that people data mine our games. That means they care. And
they want more. They want more. Can you talk about? Can you elaborate a little bit of the QTE events, the mashing? I know that's been a big kind of concern with the community. I mean, personally for me, like, how else do you get out of a tether, right? You do stuff, you hit buttons, but can you talk about some of the other designs that you went through, if you can, about and why you landed on the button mashing as for now anyway, as the primary way to get out of a tether and trap?
Yeah, so I mean, we did like just directional pulling button mashing, but like with no limiters on it. We did like the standard fix the machine type of stuff. But the big thing is, like, it just became it wasn't across the board understandable, and that's the big part, is like, there's so many different ways you can skin a cat. But that was one of those things where it's like, okay, this is how we can do it, but it's going to evolve as we get the customized buttons in. We need to constantly, I feel, evolve those elements and hopefully not break anything. But it's just one of those things where I think that we're trying to make something that can be good across the board for everyone. Like, of course, people always have other greater ideas, and believe me, I deal with that all the time with people coming in and saying, like, I've got a better idea. It's like, okay, cool, let's walk you through, let's do what we're doing. But there are a lot of things that we try to make sure that younger players can understand it, bad players can do, and so that's kind of what we went for.
Yeah, it's like this kind of things. I have this great idea. Great. Did you play test it for 200 hours and see if that was fun to do or not, or did you just come up with this on the fly and think it might be fun right now? Like, that's game dev, right? You have to test it. You have to see it's fun. It may be realistic. It may be easier. It may be more challenging. But in terms of, is it fun? At the end of the day, is it fun? If it's not fun,
and I mean, and that's the thing. You're making a game for a massive amount of people. What's good for you isn't always good for everyone. And I mean, that's the the double-edged sword of game development. Is like, okay, well, what about this group of people? What about these groups? And it's like, well, shit, this is like the what can be done for everyone. And so we're working on other elements, and we'll do those things. There's a lot of really crazy ideas that are coming through, that are very exciting to kind of add new flourishes to everything, which will slowly drip out. It's not like boom, here you go, now it's completely different. We want to make sure that everything is kind of dripped out and then tested, and okay, that worked, that didn't work, let's if we have to quickly go back. But I hope that it never has that happen.
Yeah, you can't be, if you're too knee jerky in an asymmetrical game, especially, can cause catastrophic damage to the community.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I love the fact that the Ghostbusters community has came behind us and really added to that. I mean, the Ghostbusters community is, can, like, if you do them wrong, you're in trouble. But I do think that, like, they like as a whole have been amazing. Like, it's just been really cool. And this is like the guys in Paris, the guys in Germany, like it's like we've been so lucky to be able to travel with this game and show it to different regions, and every single time it's always some guys in gray come up and it's like, hey, what do you think? And they're always smiling. They always love what we've done. I had one guy in Paris say, like, I'd never play multiplayer games. I've stayed away from multiplayer games forever. That's never been my thing. He's like, I had to try it out because it's Ghostbusters. And he's like, I've been playing it for the past 2 weeks. And so that's exciting to be able to have someone say, like, I never played this style of game, but now I love this style of game, and it's really cool. It's really exciting to have someone say that, because there's been a lot of games it's like, I don't like that type of game, and there hasn't been anyone to break me into it. And so it's really cool to show that, like, the Ghostbusters community that don't play multiplayer games are at least putting the effort in and testing it out. And I feel like the story, I feel like the experience, I feel like being able to have Ray ramble at you the way he would and give you that was purpose. That was on purpose. Like, the director's cut of it, he's rambling even longer. Right. And it's like, this is what Ray would do. Like, you would come in, like, asking him a simple question, like, where do I go? And him just blah, 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 and just constantly going until, Kat jumps in on the radio. It's like, that is, I feel, what Ray would absolutely have done. And so we wanted to make sure that every Ghostbusters fan got that first, punch of the gut of, like, oh my gosh, would I be able to, handle the amount of Ray that I would expect, And so I feel like we've done a really good job on it.
Now, your music, you got the Ghostbusters theme song, obviously, and your music department did a really good job at mimicking, like, using the same instruments and having their own unique score in it. But I was just curious, was there problems licensing the Bernstein score? Did you guys want to, but weren't able to? Was it you just wanted to make original music? Can you get into that process at all?
Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't use Bernstein because if we did, everyone would be getting YouTube flags.
That is true. Yeah. Plain
and simple. So we got Ray Parker. Of course, we needed to get Ray. So we had that at the beginning, and that's where you get it. We got Magic, which was very exciting. That was a pretty interesting road to get Magic, for sure, because I don't think anyone's ever licensed it after that film. So finding the people that own all those pieces, it was really cool and very fun. But as far as all of the, Chuck, our CEO, has a history in music, so music is very important to him. We've got an amazing audio team. Our composer is like, he's worked on a ton of massive games. He's just a really rad guy, and he also is one of the co-founders of, like, Jungle Music, which is really crazy. So, like, he's like the guy that has allowed things like drum and bass to evolve and dubstep to evolve. So, like, he's a really cool guy to hang out with. And so when we started talking about Ghostbusters, and it's like, we can't just grab everything. We can't just grab everything and have it go 1-to-1 because everyone will get, flags, and we can't do this much because everyone will get flags. So we figured out like what that algorithm was, and it's like, well, we need to redo everything. So not only did we get things that sounded exactly like that and get the same style of music, but we actually found some of the same people. So the gal that worked on Ghostbusters 1 on the crazy synth keyboard, we got her to come to Abbey Road. She got it set up, which is it's an amazing instrument. It's like technically like one of the first synths. And she worked on the first film. She worked on Jason's film as well, and she worked on our game. And so we had her play that, and then we had a full orchestra at Abbey Road in Studio 2, which is where they filmed, or where they've recorded like some of the biggest scores in the world of movies and TV. And so we're adding to that to that thing where it's like we add more and more. And I believe that they did a lot of the score from Afterlife. I remember seeing an Afterlife poster there too. So yeah, we went pretty hard with it. We definitely went above and beyond budget for it, where we could have just used a bunch of synths and found some MIDI plugins to make it sound like it. But we went really big with this score because Chuck and our audio team and even myself, I've become a really big kind of audiophile of like, oh, okay, now I know the difference. But it's taken me, Predator, we went and found the original keyboard from Predator, did the original score for that, and we tried to, when we work on an IP, we try to make it as true to what it was to what it is now. And so yeah, I could just nerd out a bunch on just what we did with that, and how fun it was, because like being able to go and record at Abbey Road, one, it's a haunted building too, so that adds to the spice of it all. But being able to be with like some of the world's best orchestra players, and then also just getting the man, I'll destroy it, like it's the Ons Mortnot or something like that crazy ass keyboard, and being able to kind of have her explain how it works and just see all of the parts and like miking it up. And also we recorded that in Studio 1, which is where the Beatles recorded a lot of their stuff. So it's just like all of the history, I feel, came out in the audio. And it's just been really cool to be able to be just even the guy that was like holding the camera and recording some of the stuff that we were doing. It was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, if there was a person out there, I won't say who, it was me, that put the real Ghostbusters score into your game, and it fit very well. Just FYI, if you ever decide to do that, I would pay money. Lots and lots of money for a music DLC pack.
Once again,
it out there.
It's just in the current state of YouTube and video games and everything like that. It's just we ran into that with Arcadegeddon, where it's like, we had everything done, everything was fine, but there's still songs that someone on YouTube's flagging as theirs, even though that's not theirs. And so I'm beyond positive every single film score is claimed by all of these people. And so I'd much rather us go through the hard work, us go through the things to do what we did, than have someone go like, oh, I made this video, it's so awesome, and I use this, and then it just gets flagged, and then it's like it's my fault. It's not the jerk that's flagged it. It's us for putting it out. So rather than making a streamer mode like what we did in F13 and Predator and Arcade, we wanted to just make sure that no one had to mess with that stuff.